Sharpen your eyesight naturally without glasses, surgeries, or expensive supplements. Most people don't realize this, but blurry vision isn't always an eye problem. In many cases, it's a nutritional, neurological, or circulation issue. Today, I want to show you how a few simple daily habits can make a powerful difference in your eyesight. Inflammation is one of the most overlooked factors when it comes to declining eyesight, yet it plays a massive role in how clearly you see on a daily basis. Many people assume blurry vision, eye fatigue, or dryness are simply part of aging, but in reality, these are often signs that the tissues of the eye are under inflammatory stress. The eyes are extremely delicate organs with tiny muscles, nerves, and blood vessels, and even low-grade inflammation can disrupt how efficiently they function. The surprising part is that this inflammation usually doesn't start in the eyes. It starts in your diet and metabolism. One of the fastest ways inflammation damages eyesight is through excess sugar and refined carbohydrates. High sugar intake spikes insulin, and insulin is a powerful inflammatory hormone. When insulin stays elevated, it increases oxidative stress, which directly affects the retina and the small muscles responsible for focusing. This is why people who consume a lot of sugary drinks or refined foods often complain of eye strain, pressure behind the eyes, or fluctuating vision throughout the day. The eyes simply cannot maintain sharp focus in an inflamed environment. Another major contributor is industrial seed oils such as soybean, corn, and canola oil. These oils are high in omega-6 fatty acids, which are highly inflammatory when consumed in excess. The modern diet is overloaded with these oils, and the eyes are particularly sensitive to the imbalance between omega-6 and omega-3 fats. When this ratio is off, the surface of the eye becomes dry and irritated, and the internal structures become more vulnerable to damage. Many people are shocked to notice that when they remove these oils and replace them with healthier fats, eye comfort improves within days. Chronic inflammation also interferes with the eye's ability to heal and regenerate. The cornea and retina rely on rapid cell turnover, and inflammation slows this process down. This can lead to slower visual adaptation, poor night vision, and increased sensitivity to light. What's interesting is that these symptoms often improve quickly once inflammatory triggers are reduced, which tells us the damage is not always permanent. The body has an incredible ability to repair itself when the inflammatory burden is lowered. Stress is another silent driver of inflammation that directly affects eyesight. Elevated cortisol, the stress hormone, constricts blood vessels and increases inflammatory chemicals throughout the body, including the eyes. When this happens, oxygen delivery to the optic nerve decreases and vision can become dull or unfocused. This is why people often experience worse eyesight during periods of high stress. Even if their prescription hasn't changed, reducing stress doesn't just calm the mind, it calms the eyes. Even dehydration contributes to inflammatory eye conditions. When the body lacks adequate fluids and electrolytes, the tear film becomes unstable, leading to dryness, burning, and blurred vision. Dehydration thickens the blood, reducing circulation to the eyes and increasing inflammatory pressure. Something as simple as improving hydration, especially with mineral-rich fluids, can significantly reduce eye irritation and visual fatigue. What's truly powerful is how quickly the eyes respond once inflammation starts to come down. Many people notice clearer vision in the morning, less dependence on artificial tears, and reduced eye strain from screens. This happens because the muscles around the eyes relax, nerve signaling improves, and the retina becomes more responsive to light. When inflammation is reduced, the eyes don't have to fight against constant internal stress. The key point to understand is that eyesight is not isolated from the rest of the body. Inflammation is a whole body issue, and the eyes are often one of the first places where the damage shows up. By addressing inflammatory triggers, especially through nutrition, stress control, and metabolic balance, you create an internal environment where the eyes can function at their highest level. When inflammation drops, clarity rises, and vision becomes sharper not by force, but by restoring how the eyes were designed to work. One of the most critical and underestimated factors in sharp eyesight is proper blood flow to the eyes. Vision is not just about the eyeballs themselves. It is about how efficiently oxygen, glucose, and micronutrients are delivered to the optic nerve, retina, and the tiny muscles that control focus and movement. When circulation is compromised, even slightly, vision can become dull, strained, or inconsistent. Many people are surprised to learn that their eyesight improves temporarily after physical movement or deep breathing, and this is not a coincidence. It is a direct response to improved circulation. The eyes have one of the highest metabolic demands in the entire body. The retina, in particular, requires a constant and rich supply of oxygen. When blood flow is reduced, the retina becomes less responsive to light, which can lead to difficulty focusing, poor night vision, and visual fatigue. This is especially noticeable in people who spend long hours sitting, working on screens, or holding their neck in a forward position. Poor posture compresses blood vessels in the neck, limiting circulation to the brain and eyes, and over time this can subtly degrade visual sharpness. Tension in the neck and upper shoulders plays a major role in restricting blood flow. The arteries that supply the eyes pass through this region, and chronic muscle tightness can act like a clamp on these vessels. This is why eye strain is often accompanied by headaches or stiffness at the base of the skull. When these muscles remain tight for long periods, less oxygen reaches the optic nerve, and visual clarity begins to suffer. Even brief periods of gentle neck mobility can noticeably reduce pressure behind the eyes, which tells us how sensitive vision is to circulation changes. Breathing patterns also have a powerful effect on blood flow to the eyes. Shallow breathing reduces oxygen levels in the blood and increases carbon dioxide imbalance, which can cause blood vessels to constrict. When this happens, the eyes are among the first organs to feel the impact. Deep, controlled breathing increases oxygen delivery and improves vascular flexibility, allowing more blood to reach the visual centers. This is why people often report clearer vision after stepping outside and taking slow, deep breaths. It's not psychological, it's physiological. Blood sugar instability is another hidden factor that interferes with circulation to the eyes. Frequent spikes and crashes in blood glucose damage blood vessels and reduce their ability to dilate properly. Over time, this affects the tiny capillaries that nourish the retina. When these vessels are compromised, visual sharpness declines and recovery from eye strain becomes slower. Stabilizing blood sugar through balanced meals and reduced refined carbohydrates supports healthier circulation and protects long-term vision. Even mild dehydration can thicken the blood, making it harder for circulation to reach the smallest vessels in the eyes. When blood becomes more viscous, the delivery of oxygen and nutrients slows down and waste products accumulate. This creates an environment where the eyes feel heavy, tired, and less responsive. Proper hydration, especially with adequate minerals, helps maintain optimal blood flow and reduces the sensation of visual fatigue, particularly during extended screen use. What stands out is how rapidly vision can respond when circulation improves. People often notice that colors appear brighter, focus becomes steadier, and eye strain decreases within minutes of improving posture, breathing deeply, or moving the body. This quick response shows that in many cases, the visual system is not damaged, It is undersupplied. Once blood flow is restored, the eyes regain their natural efficiency. The eyes are not passive organs. They are dynamic tissues that rely on constant circulation to perform accurately. When blood flow is optimized, the optic nerve functions more efficiently. The retina processes light more clearly, and the muscles responsible for eye movement work with less effort. Supporting circulation is not about extreme measures, it's about removing the silent barriers that restrict blood flow every day. When those barriers are addressed, vision often sharpens naturally, reminding us that clear eyesight is closely tied to how well the body moves, breathes, and circulates blood. Modern vision problems are often less about damage to the eyes and more about underused and imbalanced eye muscles. The eyes are controlled by a precise system of small muscles that must constantly adjust to maintain focus at different distances. When these muscles are locked into one position for hours, especially during screen use, they begin to weaken and lose flexibility. Over time, this reduces the eye's ability to shift focus smoothly, leading to blur fatigue and a sense that vision is getting worse. Even when the structure of the eye itself remains healthy, when you stare at a phone, computer, or television, your eyes are held in a fixed near focus position. This constant contraction keeps certain muscles overactive while others become dormant. The result is muscular imbalance, not unlike what happens when you sit all day and never use your glute muscles. The eyes were designed to move constantly, scanning near and far, adjusting focus hundreds of times an hour. Removing that natural movement pattern is one of the fastest ways to weaken visual performance. One of the most revealing signs of this problem is how quickly the eyes respond when focus patterns change. People often notice that after looking into the distance, even briefly, eye tension eases and clarity improves. This happens because the eye muscles finally get a chance to relax and reset. The improvement can be almost immediate, which tells us the issue is functional rather than structural. Vision that improves quickly can also decline quickly when the muscles are neglected. The brain plays a central role in this process. Eye muscles do not operate independently. They are controlled by neural signals that coordinate focus, depth, and movement. When visual input is repetitive and unchanging, the brain reduces the precision of these signals. This leads to slower focus adjustments and reduced sharpness. Changing focal distances re-engages the brain's visual processing centers, improving both muscular response and neural coordination. Another overlooked factor is how poor focus habits affect eye alignment. When muscles weaken unevenly, the eyes may not work together as efficiently, forcing the brain to compensate. This compensation increases mental effort and visual fatigue, which often shows up as headaches, difficulty concentrating, or a heavy feeling around the eyes. Many people assume this is normal aging, but in many cases, it's the result of chronically undertrained eye muscles. Natural light also plays a key role in activating focus mechanisms. Outdoor environments provide a wide range of distances and lighting conditions that force the eyes to adapt continuously. This constant adaptation strengthens eye muscles and improves focus accuracy. People who spend more time outdoors often have better distance vision, not because their eyes are genetically superior, but because their visual system is regularly challenged in the way it was designed to be. What makes this particularly compelling is how little time is required to see improvement. Even short periods of intentional focus changes can stimulate eye muscles and improve visual comfort. The eyes respond quickly to movement and variation, and when they receive it consistently, they become more efficient. This efficiency shows up as smoother focus transitions, reduced strain, and improved clarity, especially after long periods of close-up work. The key idea is that vision is an active process, not a passive one. The eyes need movement, variation, and challenge to stay strong. When focus remains fixed for too long, the system weakens. When focus is varied even briefly, the system reactivates. Strengthening eye muscles does not require complex tools or aggressive techniques. It requires restoring natural visual behavior. When the eyes are allowed to do what they were designed to do, focus improves, strain decreases, and clarity often returns without force or effort. The retina is one of the most metabolically active tissues in the entire body, and its performance is directly tied to the nutrients it receives every single day. When retinal cells are properly nourished, they convert light into clear, sharp images with remarkable efficiency. When key nutrients are missing, visual clarity begins to fade, often subtly at first showing up as difficulty seeing in low light, increased glare sensitivity, or slower visual adaptation. These changes are not random, they are biochemical signals that the retina is undernourished. Vitamin A plays a central role in retinal function because it is a core component of rhodopsin, the pigment responsible for low light and night vision. Without adequate vitamin A, the retina struggles to process light efficiently, especially in dim environments. This is why night vision is often the first aspect of eyesight to decline when nutritional support is lacking. The retina depends on a steady supply of this nutrient, not in extreme doses, but in consistent bioavailable forms from food. Zinc is equally critical, yet it is one of the most common deficiencies affecting vision. Zinc acts as a transporter, helping vitamin A move from the liver to the retina where it is needed. Without sufficient zinc, vitamin A cannot be properly utilized, even if intake appears adequate. Zinc also supports the enzymes that protect retinal cells from oxidative damage. When zinc levels are low, visual sharpness declines, and recovery from bright light exposure becomes slower and more uncomfortable. Lutein and zeaxanthin are carotenoids that concentrate in the macula, the central part of the retina responsible for detailed vision. These compounds act like internal sunglasses, filtering harmful blue light and reducing oxidative stress. In a world dominated by screens and artificial lighting, the demand for these nutrients is higher than ever. When lutein levels are sufficient, contrast sensitivity improves and visual fatigue decreases, particularly during prolonged screen exposure. The retina is also highly sensitive to oxidative damage due to its constant exposure to light and oxygen. Antioxidants such as vitamin E and selenium help neutralize free radicals before they can damage retinal cells. Without this protection, the retina ages faster and visual performance gradually declines. What's remarkable is that when antioxidant intake improves, many people notice sharper contrast and improved visual comfort, indicating that the retina is regaining resilience. Healthy fats are another essential component of retinal nutrition. The retina is rich in DHA, an omega-3 fatty acid that supports cell membrane flexibility and signal transmission. When DHA levels are low, visual processing slows, and fine detail becomes harder to perceive. This is not just about seeing clearly, but about how efficiently the retina communicates with the brain. Adequate omega-3 intake supports smoother, faster visual signaling. Blood sugar stability also affects retinal nutrition more than most people realize. Frequent glucose spikes damage the tiny blood vessels that supply the retina, reducing nutrient delivery over time. This creates a slow nutritional deficit even when diet appears adequate. Maintaining stable blood sugar protects these vessels, ensuring that nutrients can reach the retina consistently and efficiently. What stands out is how responsive the retina can be when its nutritional needs are met. Many individuals report improved night vision, reduced glare, and sharper detail within weeks of improving nutrient intake. This response highlights an important truth. Retinal decline is not always permanent or inevitable. When the retina receives the building blocks it requires, it has a strong capacity to restore function. The retina does not demand complexity, it demands consistency. When key nutrients are supplied regularly and metabolic stress is reduced, visual performance often improves naturally. Nourishing the retina is not about extreme supplementation or quick fixes, but about supporting a tissue that works continuously without rest. When that support is in place, clarity, comfort, and visual endurance tend to follow. Vision is often thought of as something that happens exclusively in the eyes, but in reality, the eyes are only the entry point. What you actually see is created in the brain. Light enters the eyes, but clarity, focus, depth, and interpretation are all processed through complex neural networks. If this brain, eye communication is weak or overstressed, eyesight can decline even when the eyes themselves are structurally normal. This is why two people with similar eye health can experience very different levels of visual sharpness. The difference lies in how efficiently the brain and eyes are working together. The optic nerve is the primary communication highway between the eyes and the brain. It carries enormous amounts of visual data every second, and it requires constant energy, oxygen, and neurological balance to function properly. When this connection is compromised, whether by stress, fatigue, poor sleep, or nervous system overload, visual processing slows down. This can show up as delayed focus, difficulty tracking moving objects, or a sensation that the eyes are clear but the image feels slightly off. These signs often point to a neurological issue rather than an eye issue. Stress is one of the most powerful disruptors of the brain-eye connection. When the nervous system is in a constant state of alert, the brain prioritizes survival over precision. Cortisol and adrenaline increase, blood flow is redirected away from fine detail systems, and visual processing becomes less accurate. This is why vision often worsens during periods of anxiety or mental overload. The eyes may still receive light correctly, but the brain does not interpret that information with the same clarity or efficiency. Sleep plays a critical role in restoring visual processing pathways. During deep sleep, the brain repairs neural connections, consolidates visual memory, and resets sensory thresholds. Inadequate or poor quality sleep interrupts this repair process, leaving the visual system under-recovered. This often leads to increased light sensitivity, reduced contrast perception, and eye fatigue the following day. Many people notice that their vision feels sharper after a good night's sleep, which highlights how closely eyesight is tied to brain recovery. Overstimulation is another factor that weakens the brain-eye relationship. Constant exposure to screens, artificial lighting, and rapid visual input overwhelms the visual cortex. The brain becomes less responsive to subtle visual details and more prone to fatigue. This doesn't happen all at once. It builds gradually. The brain adapts by lowering sensitivity, which may feel like worsening eyesight. Reducing visual overload, even briefly, allows the brain to recalibrate and improve processing accuracy. Darkness and natural light both play essential roles in supporting neurological vision health. Periods of low visual input allow the visual cortex to rest and reset. This is why closing the eyes or spending time in low light environments can feel restorative. On the other hand, exposure to natural light during the day strengthens circadian rhythms, which regulate neurological repair cycles. Balanced light exposure supports sharper vision by aligning the brain's internal timing with visual demands. The parasympathetic nervous system, the body's rest and repair mode, has a direct influence on visual clarity. When this system is activated, blood flow to the brain improves, muscle tension decreases, and neural signaling becomes more efficient. The eyes feel lighter, focus improves, and visual strain diminishes. This state cannot be forced through effort. It emerges when the nervous system feels safe and relaxed. Small, daily practices that calm the nervous system can have a noticeable impact on vision. Another overlooked aspect is mental focus. The brain's ability to concentrate directly affects how clearly it processes visual input. Mental fatigue reduces the brain's capacity to interpret fine details, making vision feel dull or blurred. This is not because the eyes are failing, but because the brain's processing power is temporarily reduced. When mental clarity improves, visual clarity often follows. What makes the brain-eye connection so powerful is its adaptability. Neural pathways involved in vision can strengthen or weaken depending on how they are used. When the brain receives consistent signals of calm, rest, and balanced stimulation, visual processing becomes sharper and more stable. When the brain is overloaded, underslept, or stressed, vision reflects that imbalance almost immediately. The most important insight is that improving eyesight is not always about doing more with the eyes, but about giving the brain what it needs to process vision correctly. When the nervous system is supported, sleep is prioritized, and sensory overload is reduced, the brain can interpret visual information with greater precision. In that state, the eyes don't have to work harder, they simply work better, guided by a brain that is calm, focused, and fully engaged in the act of seeing. When all the elements of vision are brought together, a powerful pattern begins to emerge. Eyesight is not governed by a single factor, a single habit, or a single nutrient. It is the outcome of how the body functions as a whole. Inflammation, circulation, muscle coordination, retinal nutrition, and neurological balance are not separate systems working in isolation. They are deeply interconnected. When even one of these areas is under stress, visual clarity can decline. When they are supported together, vision often improves in ways that surprise people. What many individuals find striking is how responsive eyesight can be once the right conditions are created. Small daily actions, when done consistently, can shift the internal environment from one that strains the eyes to one that supports them. The eyes are designed to adapt, recover, and function efficiently when the body is aligned with its natural biology. This adaptability explains why improvements can occur without extreme measures or long periods of time. Vision responds quickly when the underlying stressors are removed. Consistency plays a far greater role than intensity. Short, regular practices tend to outperform sporadic efforts that are more aggressive. The visual system favors gentle repetition over force. When habits that reduce inflammation, improve blood flow, activate eye muscles, nourish the retina, and calm the nervous system are practiced daily, they reinforce one another. This creates a compounding effect where each improvement strengthens the next. Over time, the eyes require less effort to see clearly, and visual fatigue diminishes. Another important aspect is awareness. Many people move through the day unaware of how much tension they hold in their eyes, neck, and face. This tension subtly degrades vision by restricting circulation and interfering with neural signaling. When awareness increases, adjustments happen naturally. Posture improves, breathing deepens, and the eyes begin to move more freely. These changes may seem small, but they significantly affect how visual information is processed. Modern lifestyles place extraordinary demands on the visual system. Extended screen use, artificial lighting, mental overload, and poor dietary patterns all push the eyes beyond what they were designed to handle continuously. Yet the body has built-in mechanisms to recover from these stresses. When those mechanisms are supported instead of suppressed, the eyes regain their natural resilience. Vision becomes less fragile and more stable throughout the day. What stands out most is that improved eyesight often comes with broader benefits. Reduced eye strain is frequently accompanied by clearer thinking, fewer headaches, and improved energy levels. This is because the same factors that support vision, better circulation, balanced blood sugar, reduced inflammation, and nervous system calm also support overall brain health. In this sense, clearer vision is often a sign that the body is moving toward better balance. Another subtle shift that occurs is confidence. When vision feels more stable, people rely less on constant correction and strain. They become more comfortable using their eyes naturally without fear of worsening their condition. This confidence further reduces tension and reinforces positive visual patterns. The relationship between the mind and the eyes becomes cooperative rather than adversarial. The most important takeaway is that eyesight is not fixed in a rigid, unchangeable state. While genetics and age play a role, they do not tell the whole story. Daily habits, environmental inputs, and metabolic health have a profound influence on how well the eyes perform. When these factors are addressed, the eyes often respond with greater clarity, comfort, and endurance. Improving vision does not require perfection. It requires alignment. When lifestyle choices are brought closer to what the visual system evolved to expect, the eyes no longer have to compensate for constant stress. They function more smoothly with less effort and greater precision. Over time, this state becomes the new normal. The real power lies in simplicity. Small, intentional actions repeated daily can reshape how the visual system behaves. When the body is supported as an integrated system, the eyes reflect that support. Vision becomes clearer, not because it is forced to improve,